When talking about support in FPS games, my mind is instantly drawn to roles that provide healing. There are roles and classes that can support your team outside of healing, like recon abilities, but those abilities can often support yourself as well. None are as altruistic as a healer. Playing a healer often means you will be giving up topping the scoreboard in favor of keeping your team alive and fighting. But in the case of the medigun in the finals, if you play it right, you can seamlessly do both. I'll show you all the nuances of the medigun in this episode of Med-Spec. So, the medigun. Medium's default specialization. I often see the stock specializations in this game discredited in the community. The charge and slam is usually subbed out for the mesh shield. The grappling hook on light is very underrated, and of course, the medigun on the medium is substituted by most semi-experienced players in favor of the turret. And the ones stuck using the medigun tend to be people that haven't unlocked anything else, or people that can't aim so they prefer to just support the team. But that's simply because they haven't unlocked the true potential of the specialization, because top players know the medigun is king. Now, in most games, a healer could have bad aim and still get by because there's usually a healing option that doesn't require aim. But in the finals, aim is very important as a healer, which is odd considering the usual idea of healers in FPS games. To understand why this is the case, we need to look at some med facts. So the first med fact I'm going to give you for today is that the medigun lives in a game with loose class roles. Your loadout determines what your class is good at. The medium class can be a supportive god that can sustain the rest of their team by themselves, or they can equip the turret and mines and create their own team.
You boys are in a minefield. That's okay. I got the map right up here.
The loadout determines what exactly the class is good at, or just different ways of playing the role, meaning that you could be half crazy mine lunatic and half healer. And most importantly, your weapons don't change, meaning that you can do the same damage a defensive playstyle can do in a firefight. So that's med fact number 1. Healers can do good damage. Med facts number 2 and 3 are more related to specifics on the medigun. Number 2 is that overheal or damage buffs aren't present in this game. See, the medigun features in 2 other prominent FPS games. In Team Fortress 2, when you hold the medigun to a teammate while they are full health, they get overheal, which is only given by mediguns and deteriorates slowly over time. In Overwatch, Mercy's healing beam can be used to buff a player's damage for a short period. Both of these features serve one purpose, to give healers something to do when everyone is full health. But there's no feature like this in the finals, and that's number 2. There is no incentive to heal your teammates after they are full health. In fact, medfact number 3 makes healing full-time even harder. The medigun can run out of ammo, or rather, it has to be cooled off if you heal too much in a short period of time. And number 4, the team size is much smaller than other games, giving less people to heal. All of these medfacts are here to tell you that the medigun does not make you a sole healer type like it would in other games. But it isn't an afterthought like Sage in Valorant or Lifeline in Apex. The medigun in the finals exists in a midpoint that most FPS games don't have a healer in, and I personally think that's really good modern game design. You aren't babysitting all the time, and you aren't useless mid-fight. Being a battle medic in this game is like a dance with your team. Starting the fight, you should have your gun out so you can do damage to the enemy with your team. But then, your teammate is going to start taking damage, so you can switch off combat mode and turn on healing mode. And during all of that, you have to find a good time to reload. There's always something to do. And sometimes, you're launched into a combat scenario out of nowhere, and you need to know when damage is going to be more beneficial over healing. In this clip, I'm fairly committed to healing my teammate, but when this guy shows up and goes for me instead, now my teammate no longer needs healing as much as I need to deal with this guy. So I switch off healing and kill him with help from my teammate. Even though healing is extremely helpful, sometimes 2 people shooting at someone is faster than watching your teammate fight while you heal them. But sometimes, it can be the difference maker. In this clip, this medium has proved to me in the past that he is skilled and worthy of keeping alive mid-fight. So when he goes in and starts fighting someone, I need to keep healing him for the following reasons. Number 1, his health is very low, meaning we may not get to a 2v1 if he dies very soon. And I'm fairly confident healing non-stop will save his life. Number 2, I'm unable to help him in the firefight due to another player off-screen doing damage. Even if we get this guy, my teammate will be dead, and it will be a bad trade, because as a healer, I'm more useful when I have a teammate to heal. And number 3, there is a good chance I can't revive him because of my distance. Usually I could find a spot around a corner to res a teammate if they go down, But that time in this scenario would instead be spent running to them with no cover and certainly dying before I can help them. And with the power of the medigun, somehow he survives this whole drawn-out firefight. And the second the enemies go on the retreat and stop focusing him, it is now my time to shine. My goal is to clean up the enemies that he was doing damage to. However, I find out he didn't do as much damage as I thought, so I do as much damage as I can, and it doesn't really matter that I die, because my team is there to clean up and revive me afterwards. And that right there is what you call a GGEZ. Just because you heal doesn't mean you can't do good damage as well. But remember, you are support at the end of the day. The biggest tip I can give to a medigun medium is to, above all, stay with your team. Now you might hear that and say, well, obviously I stay with my team already. But I don't mean just go to the same objective as them. I mean follow their exact movements. You have to be near them for this specialization to work. So stay as glued to them as possible. Even if you aren't actively healing them, they may need healing soon. Look at this, I am absolutely committed to staying right with this medium, even though he is completely lost. This is the most lost man I've ever seen. He has no idea where to go and is in full fight or flight. On any other specialization, I leave this guy immediately to go revive my teammate. But being nearby this guy with the medigun is that important. The only time you abandon your teammates is when the objective is requiring you to. If the cash out needs defending and your teammate leaves and you know it's the only chance to win, that's when you have to hold your ground and convince them to stay if you can. Okay, that's all very well and cool, but what kinds of teammates should you heal? Well, here's a loose guide for how you might choose healing priority. Games are very chaotic, and it doesn't always follow this. But these are the best moves on paper. So we can see here that if someone needs health, they should be the healing target over someone who is full health or close to it. This seems obvious to me, but not everyone seems to agree.
We're healing the wrong person! I need help!
If you can do the bare minimum and heal the person that needs health, then for the lower ranks, you're gonna do just fine. If there are multiple people that need healing, you need to give health to the person closest to death. Judging this is actually harder than it sounds. You can't just look at who has the least health, because a light that was shot once is gonna have less health than a heavy that was shot 10 times. And the light is usually fine with lower health because they have a smaller hitbox, and they can use a lot of utility to evade damage, making good light players always fairly far from death. The last thing you want is a teammate to die, so your priority is to keep everyone on your team alive. Notice how the way I worded that sentence includes yourself as well. You need to stay alive, and however morbid, there is a priority of who lives and who has to die if death is inevitable. The light class is the least important to keep alive. Again, if you can, save them, but if someone has to die, lights die first, then mediums and heavies. Now, this is where you might get confused and mistake your life as the healer to be less important than a heavy's, but this isn't true. This graph is for what teammate you should save. Your life is valued all the way over here, above all, because you can quickly revive a team after they die, and sustain another teammate. Again, this list isn't final. I would actually place a teammate medium with a defibrillator above a heavy without a shield, because the amount of damage control they can do is better than the heavy that can't block damage to save your life. Now, while talking about prioritizing heal targets, one may see this list of importance and incorrectly think that, wow, the medigun medium sure is way more important than everyone else. I wonder, what if I...
Medic chain.
Medic chaining is one of the dumbest things you can do in ranked, yet it often works against unorganized teams that can't properly isolate a target, and that can't correctly use area of effect utility. A medic chain is 2 to 3 mediums running the medigun and healing each other. Having 3 on one team promotes the most boring strategy ever. You are forced to move in this group, and if multiple players take damage, often you get stuck holding down healing until the enemy has to reload. Moving as a group is usually a good thing, but sometimes it's a good idea to split off. To try your hand at flanking, or fight a straggler, or quickly bring an objective back to the group. But you can't really do that with the medic chain, because you are essentially throwing away your medigun if you abandon the team, and having a useless specialization is a big disadvantage for you. And if you do stay together, those AoE utility options will destroy you. Why do you think the flamethrower on heavy is so popular right now? Because it can do damage to multiple targets. And because medic chaining is really common, you can roast a whole team at once. And really, grenades and mines can do the same thing. However, using a 2-person medic chain is a little more fun and practical. You can trade off who is healing and who is shooting seamlessly to continuously fire. And this number of medigun users can provide everyone with healing, meaning that a medic no longer has to fear for their life constantly, because they can probably get picked up by the other medic pretty quick. But really, one medic is all a team actually needs. One medic can usually keep a team alive through most things and allows for more damage to be done. You don't have those awkward moments of 2 people healing each other mid-fight, each of them not knowing who should pull out the gun and who should keep healing. And a lot of your time spent as a solo healer isn't even healing, so why have 2? There are much more important things a team could be doing that don't involve double healing the heavy. Now it's time for some things that couldn't cleanly fit into the script. Remember the medigun's ammo cooling feature that I was talking about?
Do not ever let it run out of ammo.
You can check how much is left with this little cross indicator here. It should never ever overheat, because what if your team needs health right as soon as it overheats? 99% of the time, healing your teammate for that tiny little bit that pushes the cooling level over isn't going to save their life or win the game. If you are certain it will, by all means, let it overheat. But usually you can just briefly switch off healing and start fighting with your team. And because the medigun cools off even when it's not equipped, after a second you can get back into healing. One of the times I do let it overheat is if we're at the last 10 seconds and my teammate is on point dying to gas or something. The healing beam can stabilize a teammate actively taking damage, so use that if it feels appropriate. But sometimes maybe you could have just shot the guy hurting your teammate. Playing with the medigun is often a very sad and painful experience. The medigun fully relies on your team having enough skill to back up healing. And even though being a combat medic lets you occasionally engage in the fight, your healing target is still going to have to be pretty good to make full use of this specialization. And that's the thing. The medigun can make a good team amazing, but it can't really make a bad team okay.
Somehow I did it. Somehow I did it. Shut up, past gallantry. Shut up, script gallantry. I carried this team all the way to the end. Look at this score line. Look at the score line. Oh my god. Okay. Look, I mean, they got a good amount of combat score, but look at the support score. That's ridiculous, all right? I don't even want to hear it. I carried this game. Past gallantry. Ya dumb.
Okay, well, it's hard to beat 2 heavies in a medium right now anyway. Oh, be quiet! The medigun allows for mediocre skill-leveled teams to be more daring and achieve greatness, but the turret and dematerializer are much better suited to carrying a bad team. What's that? You want to learn more about the dematerializer and turret? Well, you have come to the right place. Right now, the Med-Spec video on the turret is currently out. Click right over here to watch it. And if you're watching in the future, the video on the dematerializer will be right here. If not, then subscribe to be notified of when that video does come out.
Au revoir.